So I wanted to talk to you about something that's really, really important. I know that there's a couple of people who still need to do their presentations next week. So again, but I can't keep this information until next week. So because again, you've got in 2 weeks from now your final presentations, which are really important. I had already given you that 10-minute audio clip on that Sunday night. Anyway, one of the things, so this is from the evening class, Friday evening class. I think in our class, somebody also did Oscar Munoz. Now, I'm going to use Oscar Munoz only as an example, but just hear me out for a minute. We didn't have time to go over this yesterday because we have more students in the morning class, and I needed to leave some time for the biometric conference call instructions. Anyway, so again, the grades and the comments for that will come out shortly. But one of the things that you guys should hopefully keep in mind, remember, in a communications class, it's more than just learning how to present effectively and the techniques and the audience and all that stuff. That's really important. There's another thing, and I think this is appropriate at the grad level. And again, I'm here to impart all of my knowledge, insight that I've accumulated so far, and you guys are paying good money for this. So one thing to understand, when I do assignments, assign things the way I do, I promise you always that I do them for a reason, okay? And there is a method to all this. The reason why I was such a stickler with the approval process of the article itself, the business leader and the article. Now, what I asked you to do is not to make it a biography, and most of you did not make it a complete biography. Some of you went way too long on the biography, quite frankly, which those comments will come privately, of course. But because if it was just about a biography, why would I be a stickler on, a communications article, especially where some people had trouble approving it and we went back and forth, close to, the due date. So if it was just about a biography, I would just say, hey, you know what, you don't need an article, just basically pick a business leader and tell us about them. The reason why is supposed to be either about a communications issue, and that sometimes implies that something bad happened, or a communications style, and that could be good or bad. So you had a little flexibility on that, but it had to be a communication style. Now, what am I driving at? What is my point today? Really important point that I need to make. Something else that you also have to remember, guys, is the context. The context on its most macro level on, okay, we need to make a presentation. I need to do a presentation in this class. And what am I really trying to tell these people? In addition to, okay, my audience is Baruch students, in addition to not giving too much or not enough information, how much information do I think they need? How much do I think they want? And so on and so forth. It's the context that matters. Now, the guy who I'm using this as an example, he already knows that I'm using this. So again, this was a great topic. Someone in our class also did this in the morning class. But the topic basically, or the article and the leader was Oscar Munoz and that thing that happened, that unfortunate incident with, which is now a pretty famous story, Dr. Dow, and what happened in approximately a year ago on the United plane. Now, what this individual did was kind of like how most of you started your presentations. Now, remember, I'm not talking about the presentation, the intro technique. The technique, and I emailed you guys 10 different techniques for introductions. I'm not talking about the technique right now. I'm talking about how you basically want to package and spin your presentation in the first place. Has a lot to do with understanding the contents. I promise I will explain. So this really started off kind of like this, and the person did have a standard introduction as a technique. That's fine. It said something to the effect of, so good evening, everyone. Tonight I'm going to do a presentation on Oscar Munoz, who is the CEO of United Airlines. And interestingly enough, before I even get into my my presentation about a week prior to the incident that I'm going to talk about. This particular CEO was given the PR Week's U.S. Communicator of the Year award, so it's kind of interesting. Now, I wanted to talk about building his initial credibility. So, and then they went through this Oscar Munoz bio, bachelor's degree, MBA, former CFO of this, COO of that, CEO of then basically, highest rated CEOs. And then, by the way, this I don't think is an effective way, summary of what happened on United Express flight. Okay, well, we don't have to get into that. So this is how he basically started his presentation. Now, here's how I would start my presentation. And by the way, the reason why I'm picking on this is not because of this particular person. I use this exact same issue in marketing classes when I get to the chapters in related to PR. Now, remember, we're talking about understanding the context, okay? And that's something that you're also graded on, and you've got one more shot at this with the final presentation, which again, go back to my audio clip. In that regard, the final presentation, in this regard, it's even more important to understand the context. Now, here's how I would have started it. So really, what am I presenting? Am I presenting Oscar Munoz as a CEO and how he messed up on communication? No. And that's what most of you did with all of your presentations, by the way. Some people had interesting introduction techniques, but the way you went at it, meaning understanding the context, was a little bit lost. Not on everyone, but on a good amount of you. And forgive me for being direct. So what do I mean by this? How would I start this? I would do something like this. Good evening, everyone. Today, I want to talk about one of the most important things as it relates to marketing communications, which is all about public relations. As a matter of fact, this is the very essence of public relations. Public relations is that component of marketing which has to do with the communications that you as a brand are going to disseminate out to your customers, out to stakeholders of various sorts, out to the media, out to shareholders, and so on and so forth. So public relations is one of those issues where you are either a masterful, skilled person, or if you really don't know what you're doing, you can make a huge mistake that could cost your company a lot, not only in terms of revenue, but also in terms of long-ranging brand damage. And I got to tell you, there are no shortages of public relations snafus, especially from high business leaders all the way at the top, including the CEOs of major corporations. And tonight, I'm going to basically be showing one of those examples to you, which was an unfortunate incident that happened about a year ago on a United Airlines plane, and we're going to talk about how Oscar Munoz, the CEO, handled that issue. Okay, so stop. Now I'm done with playing the being character. So do you guys understand, hopefully, what the difference was? The difference is night and day, I hope you understand. I'm not starting off talking about this guy, Oscar Munoz, and then basically getting into a little bit, and honestly, the person didn't get into enough of the issue, but that's another issue in and of itself. I'm not starting this presentation about Oscar Munoz, the CEO of United Airlines, because that's not what my presentation is about. My presentation is really about a communications issue, so I want to focus on the communications issue and then actually use this as an example, okay? Now, again, that's a little bit of a higher level communication skill, but take it for what it's worth. As grad students, I think you should be able to handle that. Here's another way by the way, in terms of introductions, and this is a little bit technique as well, and this person unfortunately didn't show us any videos, and he just showed us this, this long thing, which, who on earth wants to read that? But here's another way that you could have also introduced this particular issue at hand. So, because you want to talk about the issue itself and PR, you could have done something like this. And by the way, the email that I sent you guys on Wednesday with the 10 different introduction techniques. So starting off with a video was one of them. So you could have started off by really just showing a video like this. Okay, so I'm going to stop that there. I just ran at 11 seconds. This is a 2-minute clip. 2 minutes is probably too long. You could do a 1-minute clip and edit it. So here's the thing. You could have started your video like that. You could have started your presentation like that with that video. And then you could have started off by saying, good evening, everyone. Tonight I want to talk about the most important piece of marketing communications, which is in the field of public relations. And what you just saw, a very graphic and disturbing video, is one of the more recent issues that have happened, unfortunately, in a situation in a public setting, which was due to a very large, well-known company and being responsible and how they basically approached that issue in terms of PR. So that was, again, whether you want to do it by the way of the video first or how I basically started the way I would have started this, it's a big difference, guys. It's kind of night and day. So I hope that made sense. And if you have questions on it, we could talk about it, but I wanted to get this out to you quickly because I did have time in the evening class to at least share this with them, and it seemed as though the point I was making was really resonating. Again, let me just cap this by saying you also need to understand the context. What is it that I'm doing in the first place with my presentation, in addition to all of the quote-unquote technical details and the details with slides and my introduction technique and my eye contact and my body language and my tone and my pitch and my volume and am I speaking too fast or speaking too slow. Also needing to understand, look, what am I really doing here? Is this about the CEO of United, or is this about a really unfortunate communications issue, and how am I going to basically approach this? This is night versus day, and in a real business setting, this could mean the difference of you being effective versus completely non-effective. This can be the difference of you landing a new job or promotion or not. This could be the difference of you being a politician who presents something within a context that makes more sense versus and being voted into office versus not. And I'm really not being dramatic about that. Okay, guys, thank you. I'll talk to you soon. See you next week. Thanks.